Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since we talked about social media and mental health. I assume that how social media impacts mental health has become a cliche. So what I'm doing here, dummy? Actually, there are two reasons for recommending this article. First of all is the melange of vocabularies on the topic that you might bend over backwards to find, such as the upsides and downsides of social media, the mechanism of social apps addiction, the reaction of others when you unplug social media, and so on and so forth. On top of that, the part of the interviewee's experiences stick out. They might differ a lot from one another, but you feel that these unpluggers had these shared experiences with us too. Because we don't have much time in this episode, I'll leave the interviewees sections to you, and you could find the uncut article in my WeChat account. Seriously, you can do worse than check it out. Plenty of Americans claim social media is a scourge, but few cut the cord. Headlines point at social apps to explain upward trends in anxiety, depression, and loneliness among Americans. But people of all ages continue turning to social media to build communities. Amid our gripes and widespread distrust, social media serves as a new public square where news develops, leaders debate, and users form potentially life-saving connections. Scourge is to cause trouble or something that can cause trouble. 祸害. Vanity and jealousy are scourges on our humanity and society. Or you could say vanity and jealousy scourge our humanity and society. If you rely on something or someone badly, it is not easy to cut the cord. In other words, end the connection. When to cut the cord on an emotionally distant relationship. 另外把脐带剪断也是这个词组 cut the umbilical cord. Headlines point at social apps to explain upward trends in anxiety. I guess the sentence means that headlines accuse social apps of upward trends in anxiety. It would be a little bit more comfortable if I replaced the inanimated subject with someone alive. She pointed at her neighbors to account for the trash at the doorstep. Gripe is complaint or complain continuously depending on the context. Gripe about the weather, the price, or social media was flooded with jokes and gripes. There are several things happening on social media every day according to the author. News develops. 新闻酝酿发生 Leaders debate 各类意见领袖的论战 Users form potential connections 用户之间形成的潜在的关系 People who don't use social media repeatedly said they made them feel anxious or alienated. As the line between online and real-life thins, some people are logging off permanently because the downsides feel too profound. Alienated comes from the word alien. Alien, you know, is definitely not one of us. Therefore, alienated is estranged from a group, feel out of place. Alienated young people, 格格不入的年轻人。Log off permanently, 永久退出社交媒体 Friends and family react to the social media unpluggers with bland admiration or subtle annoyance, like someone announces they don't own a TV. Unplug is to pull the wire out of the socket so the electric appliance cannot work anymore. You know, unplugged concert, 不插电的演唱会 Unplugger is an alternative way to say someone cutting the social media cord or someone logging off permanently, perhaps. Before we get into bland admiration, I want you to know bland food, which doesn't have a strong taste or rich flavors. If something or someone is bland, they're not exciting and even boring. Say a bland man, 无趣的人 a bland interview, 无聊的访谈节目 Social app features such as the like counter and infinite scroll can hook the brain with intermittent hits of dopamine, while algorithm collects signals about which content intrigues or upsets us so the apps can show us more. Hook the brain with intermittent hits of dopamine, 让大脑对间歇性的多巴胺刺激上瘾 Get hooked on something, 对什么上瘾，对什么欲罢不能 It doesn't have to be the drugs or something illegal. You could get hooked on Japanese food or romance novels. Intermittent, 间歇性的，断断续续的 Intermittent fasting diet. 间断进食法，这个好像现在很流行 But claiming that social media turns people into lonely app addicts is simplistic. Young people in particular make friends online that reduce their risk of dangerous mental health issue and suicide. Whether social media feels like a playground or a hellscape depends on a variety of individual factors. Some of us are vulnerable to compulsive behaviors. Others are sensitive to tragic news, cursory reactions, or social comparison. Playground, 游乐场 hellscape, 地狱景观那社交媒体是好是坏取决于个人因素 Be vulnerable to compulsive behaviors is be susceptible to compulsive behavior. 对于强迫行为没有抵抗力，要不停地刷 Cursory interactions, 仓促随意的这种互动 social comparison 社交攀比，那有些人对于这些是很敏感的。 Cursory is doing things quickly without thinking too much. A cursory glance or a look, a cursory review or a response. Yes, social apps bring us face-to-face with unhealthy comparison, unrealistic beauty standards, political dysfunction, shallow relationships, and misinformation. But those are baked into our culture, and logging out social media doesn't make them go away. Well, here comes another wave of expressions on the downsides of social media. We have had face-to-face, back-to-back, head-to-head in the last 3 days in a row. I assume that you know each of them. Be baked into 这个也老早就学过了，融为一体。在社交媒体上出现的这些问题，实际上早就已经融入了我们的文化。Wade said he understands the point. Leaving the apps doesn't fix society, but that was never his claim, and he's still not going back. Social media is a parallel world that's happening. I just choose not to tune into that channel. Wade is one of the interviewees. I can't help but to put this paragraph on to wrap up this video. Social media as a parallel world resonates with me a lot. People curate their lives with fancy photos and videos on social media. By putting our lives and ourselves into the camera frame, we become the objectives of our own desire. Desire is in the gaze. You guys know male gaze, don't you? But now it is self-gaze. This is Headlines. I'll see you next week.